The film board gathers. A gang of thugs is here to take on a movie currently in theaters, and this month we celebrate the Family Night Shyamalan with Ishana Night Shyamalan's debut, The Watchers.
Where's the car?
You have 5 seconds before the door is sealed. 5, 4, 3, 2.
What is happening? What is this place?
I don't mean to scare you, but we haven't much time. It's not wise to keep them waiting. They'll be very interested in someone new.
It's a window on the other side. They come every night.
And they watch us.
What is that? What are they doing?
Applause. For you, mean it.
How long have you been here?
I don't know.
And you've never seen one.
No one sees one and survives.
They have come to our world for a reason.
I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm not staying here.
They allow us to live because we follow their rules. You have broken too many.
What did you see? I'm trying to get in.
I saw myself.
Someone's out there.
Please open the door.
John? My husband's outside.
This is a trick.
Oh my God.
Oh, hi. Welcome to The Box. I'm Pete Wright, and behind this tinted glass, I sit with my dear prisoner friends, Steve Sarmento, once a future king.
The first rule of Coop Club is you don't leave Coop Club. The second rule of Coop Club is no one really cares about the Coop Club.
And Tommy Metz the third.
Pleasure to be here. I think that was maybe the Watcher's noise, maybe?
Was that the Watcher noise? Are they
so.
here right now?
Yeah.
The Watchers are podcasting?
Yep.
We are talking about The Watchers, and this is Ishana Night Shyamalan's debut feature film. We're going to talk about Ishana going forward. This movie came out, and the early reviews are in, and I think they line up with what we're going to say about this movie by and large. For now, let's talk about nepotism. For years, Hollywood has been seen as the land of opportunity, a place where dreams come true and anyone with talent can make it big. However, beneath the glitz and glamour lies a dark reality that has been kept under wraps for far too long. We here at The Next Reel are shocked we tell you, to find that nepotism, the practice of favoring family members or friends in business or employment, has become pervasive in the entertainment industry. Recent investigations have uncovered a startling truth. A significant number of Hollywood's elite have gained their status not through merit, but through family connections. The children of famous actors, directors, and producers are given preferential treatment, often landing coveted roles and opportunities that would otherwise be inaccessible to the average aspiring artist. The Barrymores, the Baldwins, the Coppolas, the Smiths, the Hustons, the Fishers-Reynolds, the Wayans, the Clooneys, the Hawn Russell Hudsons, the Estevez Sheens, the Newmans, the Apatows and Gyllenhaals and Skarsgårds and Paltrows, the Beattys, the Fondas, the Minnellis, and, yes, even the Johnsons and the Night Shyamalans from today's feature presentation. We here at The Next Reel pledge to stamp out this vile plague on the podcasting industry before it gets out of hand. My wife will be starting a fund to end nepotism in podcasting, FENP, and my son will be documenting her success in a new podcast, FENIP Explained. My dog Gambit will be joining Tommy's dog Foster in a 6-part expose on nepotism at the Breeders' Cup, which might be a thing. We're not holding auditions. How many talented individuals have been overlooked or pushed aside in favor of those with famous last names? How could we claim that Hollywood or our fair podcasting is a meritocracy when the playing field is so heavily tilted in favor of the well-connected? Do you want to be a part of something that doesn't require a letter of reference from Daddy? Become a supporting member of the Next Reel family of film podcasts by visiting truestory.fm/join. For $5 a month or $55 a year, you'll get access to early release episodes and extended editions, bonus episodes, and even the occasional merch drop. Most important, though, you're supporting all the shows that fall under the Next Reel banner: the Film Board, CinemaScope, Sitting in the Dark, Movies We Like, and of course, the Next Reel. Your small contributions add up in a big way and make sure that we can keep ourselves fully dressed in microphones and pop filters, talking movies and helping you find your next favorite film. Visit truestory.fm/join today. Here we are talking about The Watchers. The Watchers is supposed to be a suspenseful thriller that follows Mina, an American immigrant working in Ireland, as she becomes stranded in a mysterious forest while delivering a parrot to a zoo. I'm sorry, you guys. Let me just I'm gonna try it again. She becomes stranded in a mysterious forest while delivering a parrot to a zoo. No, I couldn't get through it. Oh dear. Suddenly trapped in a bunker-like building with a group of strangers, Mina must uncover the secrets of the forest and the mysterious entities known as the Watchers in order to survive and find a way out. How'd we like the movie? Who wants to go first, please? Give me some relief.
Oh, well,
did I tell you about the parrot?
Which movie do you want to hear about? Because there's two. This is two half-baked movies smashed together. So that's, what is really my first reaction to this is it's marketed as one thing and it's sort of that thing and then it becomes a different thing and neither one of them is really fully developed. There's interesting concepts and ideas and some themes in here, but it just nothing is really explored to the way it should be or I wanted. It was a disappointment. I came home and my wife, who does not like horror movies, said, well, how was it? I said, it's not scary. It's not, it's not going to have any of that things that you're worried about, because she loves M. Night Shyamalan films. And she thought, okay, but this one looks scarier. Said, no, it's not really scary. And it's not really much of a movie for me.
I loved it. No. It has some great shots. The sound design is pretty cool. I like the overall idea, not the overall idea of what is explained to us, but the idea of wake up in a box in the woods and something's watching and you can't see them. That's all like great, fun mystery box stuff for me. But the out loud and expository dialogue is so grossly overdone from jump when trying to give us character development of Mina, and the fact that most of the movie is an absolute ADR disaster. The amount of stuff that is told to us with characters' back turned to us, or even just straight up, you can see their lips not moving as they're walking through the forest, as they're rapid fire going through the plot. It's pretty clear that the writer-director, I know it's based on a book, but she wrote the script. She never had a hold of the story in the first place. I mean, it was just good at the visuals because the story clearly wasn't there, and they are clearly addressing a lot of what I have to think are test audiences being like, what are you talking about? What is happening? Why is no one speaking? Why? It was just a bunch of sad people in the woods. So no, the movie unfortunately is a mess. And at one point I was like stifling laughter because it was just so ham-handed, which is a drag because at times it looks outstanding. It's got a real visual sense to it, which is cool. And then even that starts to go away. So
it does, and I'm with you both on this. I feel like the movie tried to end. It really it felt like it was building to an end, and then it said, "Wait, one more thing," and it just kept going. It kept going beyond where the movie deserved to die. Like the movie deserved to end so much before it did. This was not this did not fall for me in the legacy of the M. Night Shyamalan classics, right? It was wildly overexplained. It did not trust me as an audience member to the point, to your ADR point, like it felt like the like it was the director was stuck and never quite knew enough of the story that was being communicated, and as a result just kept talking. You know, when you're in this conversation and nobody's responding,
Yeah.
so you just keep
Yes.
talking. That's
Right.
this movie.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, which is puzzling because it's based on a book. So I thought there's a story. You know where this is going, what story to tell, unless there is so much story in this book that you can't fit it in a film. And so decisions had to be made of what pieces we tell, and they shot things and then realized this was not holding together and tried to band-aid this together as much as it could. But my friend that I saw it with said this would have been so much better if it had been a series, to give it some time to explore each part of this film, because it was just rushed through, half-baked. But there's good ideas there, and that's why I really struggled, because I heard this was based on a book. So I thought, oh, okay, it should be clear where things are going. But it had no sense of that. I had no sense that this film knew what story it wanted to tell.
Barely about underground fairies.
When did it come off the rails for you guys? When did you know that you weren't really in capable cinematic narrative hands?
I can tell you when I first got really worried is when she turns to the bird and says, "Hey, bird, what are you running from?" That's terrible.
But she's already in the woods at that point,
No,
right?
she's in her apartment. She hasn't left yet.
Oh, she hasn't left
So
yet.
it's like the most expository, weird, talking to a bird, telling us that she has a backstory that she's trying to run away from, and that's why she's such a vapor. Oh, vaping!
So much vaping.
Sign
My
of every
God.
ne'er-do-well. Ridiculous. And they're like, the vaping screws up the pets. And they're like, no, it's water vapor. No, it doesn't. Anyways, point is, no, when she did that, I was like, oh no, that's like some early weird M. Night Shyamalan clunker. I was like, oh no, if she has the same blind spots that her dad does with weird, on-the-nose, overly melodramatic dialogue, we might be in trouble. And she does. And the fact that he's like the lead producer on it, I think this is a very maybe insulting thing to say. I feel like this whole film needed more adult supervision from not Shyamalan's. It needed someone at some point to be like, what are we doing? Because 3/4 of the way through a movie, you can't come across a scroll or a stone in the center of the woods and have a person for the first time use the word fairies. And you're like, what? That's when I thought the movie was ending. And instead, no, it's backstory time. And we're back in Lady in the Water nonsense.
You said it. You said Lady in the Water. Steve, when did it fall apart for you?
I would say that where I started to feel like I wasn't in capable hands was there's a point probably somewhere in halfway through in the woods in the cabin thing where they're doing stuff and we get Mina doing some voiceover telling us some things, and I thought, where's this coming from? Why do we have voiceover now? What's going on? Because we haven't had that. So then I thought, she's telling this story too.
Winter came and
Right,
went,
yeah,
right?
well,
Like,
Yeah, and she was like, and we were all going insane. And I was like, not on camera.
Right. Who is she telling this to? I had no sense of that. And then the other thing that just sort of I wondered about a lot early on was there were some choices made because her coworker at the pet store, we don't see their face at all, because when she's out vaping, they're obscured, and then when she's sitting inside doing something, they walk into the background, but they're all blurred out. And I thought, okay, they're disguising this person's identity, and then she goes out at night at the bar or whatever and is having a conversation with a gentleman. We don't see that person, so I'm wondering, what do I trust? Because there's some decisions being made to tell me that there's stuff that's being hidden, and I thought, you haven't given me a reason for these things. So then we're getting voiceover. I thought, I just really uncomfortable. I don't trust where this is going because I don't think they know what type of story they're trying to tell or what point they want to make with this story, if anything.
it was coming off the rails before we were even introduced to Mina. I think the David's run through the forest, there were enough times when he stopped and looked at those signs, the point of no return sign, and said something like, "What is this?" And then looked at the beast that came to him and said, "Impossible! Who are you?" Right? And he was talking enough that I felt like, okay, this is not going to play well. But when I really found myself frustrated, Yeah, no, it was before the sun
Yeah.
had risen. The thing that frustrated me the most was that they set up this character in Mina that I was actually compelled by. I was interested in her damage, right? Like, why is she vaping so much? What is she doing in Ireland? What is this whole story? And why does this character fascinatingly get her rise out of putting on costume, makeup, and wigs and going out on blind dates, right? That's fascinating to me and irrelevant to
Yeah.
the film.
It's
And
not.
it
That
turns
doesn't
out
have
the
to do
film
with like
didn't.
being caged.
No.
That doesn't
Yeah.
have like
Right.
because there's through lines with birds, with cages,
Right.
with things like that. But they don't all match up. Mina, her name is like a myna bird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, no, never caught that.
Yep.
Didn't think enough of it to think about that. I just feel like the movie didn't know from beat to beat before it got into the woods what it was doing, and I feel like there was opportunity. If this isn't a defeat snatched from the jaws of victory movie, I don't know what is,
Yeah.
because this was the biggest Shyamalan mystery in this is how they were able to miss the movie that they should have made.
Right.
Absolutely, because
Right.
early on when she first gets in there, and it's like, okay, we got to go stand in front of here, and she's like, "What are we supposed to just be yourself?" And I thought, "Ooh, this is interesting because we've set up this character who's wearing disguises. There's something from the past, that she's trying to hide. So it's like, can she be true to who she is? Does she even know who she is? We're going to explore this character's identity, what she's running from, what she's hiding. What does she have to work through? Because that's what I'm always fascinated with the horror film, where it's those situations are a catalyst for a character to come to terms with something, to either deal with some past trauma, gain some there's some transformation that this external trauma brings about. But we get, there is some resolution. It makes no sense to me by the time we get to the end of what has happened to her, why she gets there. But early on, yes, Pete, I was all on board with this because I was getting pieces. But for every strong play I was getting of like, oh, this is setting something up, I was undermined by other choices that were being made. So that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a movie that stares you confidently in the face while kicking you in the groin.
Yes, it does.
I struggle with that. So let's talk about our first case. Well, I guess we've already mentioned the first case of Hollywood nepotism, but let's do the second one. What do we think of Dakota Fanning and her delivering on this material?
She's better than the material. She's not given a lot to do, and most of her acting is done when you can't see her face. I mean, the sheer amount of voiceover work put in later through looping or whatever is just, it's all consuming.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. And so it's hard to
It's like
realize...
the movie was rewritten in ADR. Yeah.
And so it's hard to, sometimes her emotions didn't seem to match what was going on. I think that's a problem. But I have trouble blaming her because I believe that she is such a confidently great actress and has been for forever. And she's even like interesting in low emotion like when she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like it was a pretty low emotion, one line part that she made interesting. Like it was very watchable. So she deserved better. And every once in a while, when she seemed to go off the reservation, I really can't blame her.
No, I don't think she was given much to do with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Characters completely change, their motivations change off camera, and we're just told that this is where we are now. You can't blame him for his anger. What anger? Why are we locking each other out?
He's never been angry. Now suddenly he's angry and tied her up tied grandma up in the forest.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. I don't...
because of that voiceover line.
Yeah.
Like that we got a line of voiceover saying we were going crazy. Like that was unearned emotion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
I think it gets to all of these people in this movie that Dakota Fanning and Georgina Campbell and Olwen Furere and Oliver Finnegan, like all four of them, I think were doing the very best that they could in a movie that I'm not sure they knew how it would end up when it was finished. You know, like it was pieced together, and I think they were all interesting to look at, interesting to watch. I think the movie set us up with a mystery box in the forest and let them out of the mystery box too soon.
Yeah.
There was no pressure buildup inside the mystery box because every day they go outside and hunt and have a fire and they're really camping. What are they complaining about? What's so hard about this life? Come on.
Yeah.
have another squirrel or a crow and
Right.
be quiet. But that's the piece that I struggled with, is that I felt like they were good and I still didn't believe them and I still didn't feel any of that pressure.
I agree, because the woman from Barbarian, she's outstanding. If there's one issue that I have with Dakota Fanning, she is outacted. I'm sorry, I don't remember the actress's name. I know you just listed them all. I should have them up. But the lead from Barbarian who's in this movie, is so captivating.
Georgina Campbell.
That's Georgina Campbell, that she kind of outacts Dakota Fanning, just because I feel like she's at least taking a direction in certain ways. She made up her mind what the movie was. Dakota Fanning, I don't know. I think Dakota Fanning was waiting for someone to tell her at time what the movie was, and they kept not doing it.
Well, that's really interesting. I wonder, as a little armchair game, let's go through each each character and try to figure out what movie they were making. Because I think Georgina Campbell was making a movie about grief and the loss of her husband, right? And coming to that point, like she existed so comfortably, awkwardly in the liminal space between my husband is gone, he has not come back yet, we are not rescued, but I can't let him go, so I have to believe that he's going to come back. I haven't given up yet. Right. That was so good for her to be confused. That was awesome. Oliver Finnegan. Now, Tom, I think we were talking last night. I think you really liked Oliver Finnegan.
I did. I thought he was cool. Yeah, I liked
What movie was he making?
He was making a character study that we didn't get.
Yeah.
Of when you put 4 interestingly combustible characters, one who has more knowledge than everyone else, 2, unfortunately, that are dealing with grief. One is more recent. The other one is long buried. And then this sort of oddball who is he's potentially neurodiverse. There's something going on where he's not as socialized as everybody else. He doesn't take things seriously until he very much does for some reason. So I think he is interesting because I would like to see him bounce off of people more, and ultimately sort of that character usually becomes sort of a savior of sorts. He sort of did in this one, but at the expense of
Well,
he became
I think
victim.
That partially comes down to really did not have a sense of time for him to say, oh, I've been here, I think it's been 5 months. And I'm like, so shouldn't you be scruffier looking? Shouldn't you be, if you've been living in the forest?
Confused where they were cooking and washing clothes and having hair care and all of that.
There's lots of those things. Like, okay, because I can understand you don't know how long you've been there. And that's something interesting to play with. But I, as an audience, should have a sense of time passing, but it could have been 2 or 3 days. So
at no time does Mina go, this coop smells terrible.
Right. For him to just have a sense of he's been there so that he can go through those phases of where his character is mentally in this space of to have that break that happens. You know, what are those key points? Because we need to get into the psychology of that character, but if we don't have a sense of that routine and monotony wearing on him or other things, weighing on him or pushing him to places to do things that he does, I don't have a sense of why he's doing them because we don't have a sense of the weight of the time. But I think, it's interesting. As you said, the savior character, but even that I didn't. Yeah, there's so many emotions that I should have felt at certain times that I didn't because I just was not.
Because we weren't actually on the journey with them. We were told, we were told there was a journey.
Yes, we were just told a lot of things. We didn't go with them. Perfectly said. Thank you.
Oh, the time question is a really important one because you're right. They did not degrade for people who've been there for months and months and months. They did not degrade at all. And it's as if the movie was made. And I legitimately wonder if Steve, did you read the book?
No. Yeah.
No. Okay. All right. That was answered fast. I wonder in the book if they discovered the subterranean lair earlier, because that would allow us to explain their cleanliness.
Right.
Right.
Oh, sure.
That there would be some way to take care of themselves if they could go up and down in the thing. And so I almost wonder if the movie was made with the expectation that they were going to have access to those things, and it didn't. The other thing I thought was just another missed ball was that it would have been great if Mina and Kira and Daniel were degrading, but Madeline was not.
Something
over time.
Sure.
That's a Shyamalan
that's
mystery. Why? that would be a great. That's a reason to rewatch the
Yes.
movie, right? Is to look at why she doesn't change, even if they never explain it. Especially if they never explain it until you get the ultimate reveal. Those two things were particularly frustrating. So, all right, I love the Daniel angle. What movie was Madeline making? Do you think she knew she was a fairy?
I don't. No, I am the wise woman of the woods who is the keeper of the rules, and I think that was all she got to latch onto was I have to be the parent of this, and I have to hold fast to these rules because that's all I got out of her. Really, but I mean, maybe there was a little bit of the I know something they don't, but there wasn't that much of that. There was it left me uncomfortable as an audience because there were too many questions of if you're stuck with her for so long, it's like, how does she know these rules? It's like the mythical, oh yeah, no one lived to tell the tale. Well, then how did the tale get out? Right. So it's like,
how did the tale get out?
So
Right.
how does she know these rules? Who knows all of these things? How did it get to her eventually? Because if they've only been there a little while, then I'd be asking her a whole lot of questions, and she does not.
Yeah, what are they talking about for 5 months? Because
Yeah.
I feel like 5 months forward, one of them is like, so any hobbies? I'm like, what have you been talking?
Come on, reality TV. They just got, you're going to watch the little Love Nest, whatever
That's
series.
weird.
Yeah.
So, do you have a day job?
Yeah.
Oh my God, 6 months later, we're just getting around to this.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm right with you on that. I think that was confusing. What about Mina? We say she did not change very much, it seemed like, over the course of the movie. And I love, Tom, that you are first to lob out there that she was waiting for somebody to tell her what movie she was making. That lines up to me. If we're being gracious and we put that aside just for a bit, do we think she knew what movie she was making at any given point?
Well, she's the audience surrogate, if we have one.
So it's okay to be,
I think
sort of.
Yeah, she's
mysterious.
reacting like us. Unfortunately, she isn't given time. She isn't given. We miss like the really interesting parts. We see first night, and then we're skipping all around the place. It seems like, and so we miss the getting used to. We miss we never see them eating. We never see them how they cook. The movie misses, like you said, the movie just misses the best part. We needed more time in the box.
her
Just
her
show their
drawing
light.
on the floor, I mean, that gets the
Yeah.
sense of time passing, but there is some, so she's got some artistic abilities there. There's some things. I mean, one of the biggest things I think we miss is her relationship with the bird, because first I wondered like why he didn't get eaten right away, and then later on when it's like, follow that bird out of here. I don't have a sense of that there's any type of relationship between her and
Bonding.
this bonding of this bird. They, because that's the way out of follow that bird. I thought I need that relationship of why this bird doesn't just like take off, because I'm thinking she just picked him up. He's been in a cage with her for like 2 days. He doesn't care who she is. Then I realized, no, it's been months. So there should have been something. Again, we don't get that. We don't get any of that between the characters, as Tommy said, those conversations, but other than Mina's story, because, let me in, let me tell you this story for, because the audience needs to have this information or something. So that's, the other piece we're missing is from her, we get what we need to as an audience to help try to piece the story together. But that's, I think, all she's given is nothing to latch onto as an actor of who this person is. It's, well, you've got to convey this information. That's all I feel I got from her was I have to do this so that the audience has this. So maybe that is the role of the audience surrogate, but doesn't want me to go on the journey with her.
Oh, I mean, that's such a good point. The problem I have with looking at her too strongly as an audience surrogate, and I know that was her functional purpose, but the problem is she becomes wise based on nothing, right?
Right.
She just, like you already said it, right? She knows what the fairies are first. Like she knows all of that stuff first. She makes the call to go see Kira's place unearned. Like I don't have any reason to believe that she has the wisdom necessary to have figured out this mystery. And that turn at the end when she realizes that Kira wasn't the real Kira, I mean, I know we see the brown-haired girl getting out of the car and she discovered it was Kira before I did. But I still found that frustrating exchange at the end, the confrontation.
Well, because I think we don't have that sense of that relationship, because I've got people that were stuck someplace together, but then for all I know, they all go on their own way. So when she comes back to her, I'm like, well, yeah, I guess they would have bonded of like being survivors of this traumatic event, but I don't have that sense of closeness, so that there should be something of like, you live with somebody in close quarters for months and months and months. So what is she going to notice of like, oh, this isn't her, right? There should be that suspenseful build towards her realizing there's something. But yeah, we're given that because, oh, we see, in the background. I thought that's not the way to play this, right? If we're going to learn this along with Mina, then give us those things. But like I said, I feel like if we had just had more time with this, because things got really, really rushed in the last section of this film. I thought this is a whole story in itself, and we're just gonna 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we're just gonna just knock these beats out, get through this so that we can have this ending happen. But
so do you think that there's a much longer version of this movie?
No, I don't think there's a much maybe in the book maybe has more of it. I mean, the book could be just as short. I feel like a good character-driven story would take its time with these pieces. And for me, it wasn't about the characters. It was about hitting these key plot points, these trailer moments that we needed to have, these things, and perhaps some audience expectations as far as what we need to get in a suspenseful movie. And it delivered those pieces, but not connected to any story that cared about any characters. So in movies like this, where when it comes to the end, I'm like, wow, it feels like there were scenes that were edited out or cut. I, wonder, were they even shot? Were they even written? Because was there anyone that even noticed that these things need to happen? Or did it matter? Because is that what the project was? At a certain point when it gets greenlit, what does this need to be? What's the expectation? Oh, it's going to be this. Great. Get it in production, get it done, and let's get it released.
Do you know what parrots eat?
I'm assuming she just had a big bag of birdseed in the, that she carried with her, because yeah,
that little dish was filled the entire time.
Yeah. They're surrounded by trees and seeds.
Don't. I mean,
so obviously, yeah.
I mean, if they have fruit and fresh fruit and vegetables, that's good. Other pellet sort of nutrients. I just never saw them acquire food, and they were mostly trapping other birds.
Yes.
To eat. So I struggled a little bit with that. I just felt like I needed that criticism to be out there. There was some really interesting stuff going on with the filmmaking occasionally, though. And I will say the standout reason to see this movie for me is the production design. I love the box and the woods and the idea of it. Like, it's beautiful. So when it's out for streaming and you can stream it, you can watch it for the box, because I think the box is cool. I love the idea. They didn't play enough in it, but it's really great.
Is until they talk about how it got there. And then I just had all kinds of questions of, oh, this got built by construction crews that were killed off. And I thought, how'd you get this here? Where's your equipment to excavate this?
Incredibly expensive.
Yeah, it's like you bulldozers, tractors, you just they get taken away.
They were all brought in by helicopter and taken out by helicopter. There's no roads.
Obviously. There is a road. There's the tiny road she drove down, but I thought, you've got to bring in big equipment. Yeah. And that's one of the...
It was like a bunch of fairies in hard hats.
I bought into it, that there's this mysterious building in the middle of the woods. I am 100% on board with that. Yes. Then you start to explain things, and now you're bringing me full on into reality of like, well, okay, you've got 13, you bring in workers in teams of 13, from the local. I'm like, I now have to ask so many questions that I wasn't going to ask, because I was ready to just say, it's a mystery building that's there for whatever supernatural, weird, mysterious reasons. We don't need the real world to encroach on this. And it does it several times, which leads to more questions that I don't want to ask because they're not answered, or it points out, failings in logic of this world that we're presented with. And it was so frustrating to me, because I don't need those things. Just let me suspend my disbelief. Don't give me those, doses of reality. It just undermines the magic and wonder of the great production design. I mean, that's what I saw continuously in the ads and the trailers, is just this glowing room in the dark woods. It's such a compelling image.
That was a problem with Old too. I know that she didn't direct Old, but her dad did. I didn't need to know why it was a magic beach. It actually kind of dragged for me once I found out it was a magic beach and we were curing cancer or something. And yeah, it's weird. Seems interesting that you would your problem is over explaining
Yes.
Yes. Like too much information. That's usually not the problem.
Right. Let us have our reasons for it. Let us come to our own conclusions. Let us have, give us the mysteries. We'll come up with our own reasons that we want to believe. Yeah.
That's the lack of trust. I am not trusted as an audience member. I loved did you post the review, Steve? Walter Chaw's review to us in Discord. It is a great review.
Oh, that was Andy's. Andy posted that. Yes.
Oh, that was Andy's review. All right. You know what the Watchers reminded me of the most is the bookending seasons of Lost. That is to say, the first, in which a lot of checks are written, and the sixth, in which it becomes clear there is no money in the account, and there never, ever was.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, put that on a plaque. That should have been an endorsement on the poster. It really feels that confusing to me.
Yeah.
This movie. So I want to get back to Eli Aronson, who did the cinematography, because there are a couple of times in this movie where it changes from the kind of wide angle forest shots to we're going to go macro. We're going to go macro on your eyeball, Dakota, and you're going to be running through the forest. And it felt like we were trying to throw a little Hitchcock in the mix, right? Did you guys catch any of that? Did it feel meaningful to you in any way?
No, it felt motion controlled. It felt weird. It felt like when my least favorite camera rig, they became really wildly popular, especially when a character was like drunk or on drugs, where it'd be like, obviously it's like hooked to their neck or something and it's right in front of their face. That was always jarring and seemed like dumb to me. That's what this looked like. It looked all of a sudden like this beautiful forest cinematography. Is like, why are we faking this? Now it looks like it could be green screened or something. Why are we doing this? And that makes it seem like, I wonder if they just were missing a shot of like good running or showing her emotion or something, or they accidentally shot that entire chase scene in long. And the test audience was like, this is boring, this isn't working, because it looked like an overly processed thing that he did. I counted twice, 2 different times, and they both looked bad to me.
I think there were 3, and one of them was in the car.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
she was driving.
And then like the money did really like dry up at some point, because like the yellow parrot racing through the woods at the end looked awful. Like that was just a joke. It made it look like, was none of this filmed at night or outside, or what are we like? It was tackling all sorts of problems. It got really weird.
But I will say, I think in general the photography was quite lovely.
Yeah,
right. And I think it was moody and brooding, and so the film looked good.
Yeah.
But that won't save it though. That's the problem, because I would have rather that gone into some story and other things, because I can let the quality of how some things are being shot if the story's going to pull me in. But for me, the great cinematography isn't going to make up for bad story. That's the problem. Yeah.
And it really is. I mean, you started by talking about nepotism. This is a real nepotism gone wrong thing, in that if the name M. Night Shyamalan wasn't on this, there's no way it would have this huge of a release. It's also way too much pressure to put on this picture.
Oh, absolutely.
I can safely say, based on our conversation, the conversation last month when we picked this movie, we would not have seen it if it was not a Shyamalan movie.
Right.
I would have, because it was a mystery box movie.
Oh, sure.
Well, eventually.
Don't go see it.
Don't go see it. Yeah, right. Are either of you into Servant, the Apple TV Plus show? It's also a Shyamalan joint.
Don't have Apple TV Plus, but I will get it when Severance comes back.
She is listed as co-director, co-writer on 7-8 episodes of Servant.
That's where she got her job. Okay.
Through season 2, 3, and 4. She did, it looks like 2 episodes. 2 episodes in season 2, 1 in season 3, and the rest in season 4. So that's where she started making this. I don't watch Servant. I never really got into it after the first episode. I watched 2
episodes way back in the day. No one talks about that show for its story. which is weird because it's so high concept. They talk about it having really stylish visuals. And then what does that lead us to? The Watchers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Stylish visuals. Okay, so talking about production design, we've got to talk about creature design, right? This movie is ostensibly also a creature film to some extent. What do we think of the fairies? They're very tall.
That's the only thing I cared about. I liked how tall they were when they would slowly stand up, and it looked like it just kept somehow standing. And I like that that's what what's his name was reacting to. Was that's impossible. It was not a great line to put when you're being chased, but in the cold
Yeah.
open, that's impossible. It is. It seems like, oh, humanoid, got it. Nope, but they're better blurry, as everything always is. They're better seen
Everything
half
always is.
through the closed door instead of
Yeah.
full on. Now we're all underground, and look, I brought a clip scene. Yeah, of the weird fairy war again that happens off screen.
Yes.
I brought a clip. I did not love when we started getting the macro, like the extreme close-ups of their design details,
Yeah.
of their hands and their jaws, and everything felt weird. Although, by the time we get to the end, when they get in the boat and the one who now looks like Daniel, they're all standing in a
Yeah.
row, is an awesome concept
Yeah.
shot that looked like some of the worst
Yeah.
compositing in Premiere. That that's like a highlight. Like they are standing on no surface,
Right.
just
Yeah.
cloud. They're standing on cloud, which leads into water. It is a very strange shot, but his face is great. I mean, he looks great when he does that scream and his jaw kind of opens
Yeah.
too far.
Mhm.
I thought that was really compelling. It's just another great visual.
Yeah.
Great visual.
Keep it simple. Keep it
Yes.
human
Mhm.
as much as possible. I like the idea of like getting the number of fingers wrong by one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Ugh.
A big winged monster is not great
Yeah.
because you clearly don't have the money to pull it off.
Yeah.
So don't try. It was
Yeah.
cooler before. Yeah.
This movie is a case example for why Midjourney can be a cinema tool.
This,
Right,
yes.
because we have AI that can make these characters
Yes.
perfectly
Absolutely.
with too many fingers or too few. I don't even know, you guys. I mean, I feel like anything else, we're just punching.
I mean, I think
the
that
film.
the whole introduction of like the folklore fairy piece, I mean, I love that type of stuff. And so that's where I really felt like, oh, you're giving me a different movie because I like the mystery box. That's one type of story. And then, okay, now you're going to do sort of a take traditional folklore into contemporary times and that how those rub up against each other. I'm like, that's always fascinating. And what was myth and what does that look like now? And how does that fit into our world? And how do we reconcile that is fascinating as well, but do it well. And that's why I really wanted this to be two separate movies or like a series or something, because there's these fascinating ideas. And again, it comes back to that initial with Mina, that sense of identity, because you've got these fairies, right? It was like, okay, they can be humanoid-ish, whatever. There's this whole thing they're playing around with twins also that doesn't get resolved, but there's something about
Totally
with
unresolved.
appearance and identity and all of that, and that I wanted so much more of. It was like teasing me with these like intellectual concepts that and then when you tie those back to like folktale, myth, and all of that, that's really fascinating. I think there's some good psychology in there. But yeah, it just went for we got to make a scary monster movie at the end.
It gave up.
And so it
Gave
was
up
just
on the mystery.
yeah, it
Yeah.
it did.
Well, I've got nothing else. Tom, do you have any last points?
I will
You wanna
see her.
kick it
I
while
will
it's
see her
down?
next movie. I mean, depending.
Really?
If she, yeah, because I would like to see how she goes. I would like to see what she learns from it. It's interesting that
Yeah.
she seemed to take the most script direction from her father's legendarily second to worst movie, The Lady in the Water, with this
Yeah.
bring in real people with folklore and put it all together and make it all up and then make it sort of like storybooky and stuff. Why he would be like, try that one. It's like a weird call. That's like saying, why don't you try Airbender?
Right.
But I mean, he has grown and changed as a filmmaker. I like a lot of his stuff. I'm excited
For sure.
whenever a new movie of his comes out. I never really got that Shyamalan fatigue. I've been burned by him, and so I'm willing to be burned by her once. And she's confident in the visuals. There's problems with pacing. There's horrible character development. The script is a mess, but it looked good. It looked like a good movie. So if she can wrangle some of that other stuff, I'd like to keep an eye.
I would love to see a movie that someone else really wrote.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with her father, right? I mean, it's the same thing.
I would be
Right.
fascinated to read the original script that she
Yeah.
wrote. I can't believe it was this. I mean, there's so much tinkering in post in
Mhm.
this one. I'm fascinated. I kind of want to read the book. I might read the book because the book gets pretty good reviews.
Oh, Steve's review was
that's not my thing.
that was Steve's
not
review.
my
No.
thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think you know what it's time to do.
Let's rank it.
Time. If IMDb is Denzel, then Letterboxd is clearly John David Washington. Yeah, that's right. We're going to Letterboxd. We're going to the nepotism of our movie sites.
Got it. Okay.
You got to have done well on that part of the SAT to really nail what I just did to you right there. Yeah. Letterboxd.com/the next reel is our HQ page. But we're going to go over to Letterboxd. We're going to review the film out of 5 stars. Half stars count for you two if you want. And you can also give it a heart if it ends up being a guilty pleasure. Steve, where are you going to go?
Okay. So I saw this opening weekend. So it's been some time has passed. So I've had time to think through things and all of that. And sometimes that helps the film and sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, like I said, this is really 2 movies. And so if I give each one of them 0.75 stars, we get a total of 1.5 stars for this. That's so disappointing. That one thing I have in my notes, and I think it's a line of dialogue that a character says is, some things are meant to be left in the past. For me, that's this movie. It's in my past, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going back to this again. No hearts.
Well, that's really where I'm struggling.
No hearts.
Yeah. No hearts. All right. Thomas?
I'm going to give it a 2 for the look and the production design and some of the acting and no heart.
I think I'm going to land where you are. I've been dancing between 1 and 2. I've committed to no half stars. That's where I'm staying. So I'm definitely not giving it a heart. I think I'll land on 2 stars. I think it'll stay there maybe forever because I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again to relitigate it.
There's not enough to want to go back to because it's going to end so crushingly. Like as it just gets worse and worse and worse. It just gets more and more frustrating. And then I just started laughing.
Yeah, that's where I am on it too. So I think I'll give it a 2. That is a gracious 2, and I think probably more than a half star in there is to our principal cast who did the yeoman's work with a script that didn't make a lot of sense. So there we are. That averages out to a satisfyingly round 1.83 repeating, which will which we'll see if Letterboxd can calculate that as we go forward. That is that. And that brings us to coming attractions. What are we going to do next month? Who wants to reveal? Who's going to do the big reveal?
I want Steve to do it, but I want him to come out of the forest behind him to do it.
Yeah, and I want him to do it as one of the principal characters.
Oh, I can't do voices.
Yeah. This is why you're so perfect for this.
Character to character.
I'm just giving you a chance to call your shot.
What am I gonna? You're gonna bleep everything out I say? I don't know how to do either one of these guys.
Do it as one of the Fae.
Oh,
as one of the fairies.
No, as one of the characters in the upcoming movie. There are no fairies in the movie we're doing next month.
Is there a full title to this movie that I need to be aware of? Is there like a subtitle on this?
Just the ampersand.
Is it just the ampersand?
I've never seen anything else. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just ampersand, right? So it's Deadpool, ampersand, Wolverine.
Yes.
Okay, good. At least we got the reading of the punctuation.
Yeah.
Which I think it's like you are texting me with your voice.
Yeah,
that's what I like to hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Minimum effort.
All right. Yeah, we are doing Deadpool and Wolverine next month. We're very excited about it. Movie drops on July 26th here, and we will be talking about it that weekend. Cannot wait. I think it's going to be a popular film.
Yes.
There we have it. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out.
We did it.
And listening to this show. We sure did. Do we have, I know this is the part you both look forward to the most. Do we have any plugs? What do you want to share about what you're working on right now? that we can look at, or what you have worked on in the past. Tom?
Yes. Well, speaking of, if you're a fan of horror like The Watchers, you might be a fan of another podcast called Sitting in the Dark. Sitting in the Dark, it is a monthly podcast where we get together and talk about different themes or ideas. And this next month is mine. And we're talking about horror movies that all take place in contained areas. Movies that maybe could even be a play. The horror movies and what kind of constraints and what kind of value that gives to different things. And I haven't chosen the movies still yet.
Oh.
I have a list of like 18 and I have to make 3.
Well, here's one you can't do because I did it on Trailer Rewind, I think, with Ray. We talked about The Lodge from 2019, which is one of those.
Oh.
Yes,
and we've talked about The Lodge actually on we did for Pete's, one of Pete's segments.
Oh, okay.
He did horror in the wilderness, horror in the ocean, horror in the sky, horror in the thing, and we did The Lodge, which is great.
So it's, if you like movies, if you like movies like The Watcher, there's nothing I can do to help you. If you like the idea of a movie like The Watcher, then The Lodge is an interesting one. I mean, it does have some controversial things to it. It's by far not perfect. There's some issues I had with it, but it is something in this vein of, a small group of people stuck in dealing with things happening. So,
right.
Yes, that's a good old Trailer Rewind.
Things do happen. That's it. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and listening to us. Do all the things you're supposed to do with your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, and, of course, listen. And perhaps most importantly, share. Please let those movie lovers in your life, let them know about the show. I'll get through words. Please let those movie lovers in your life know about this show. The best way we can get more people listening to the show is you. Thank you so much. On behalf of Tommy Metz III and Steve Sarmento, I'm Pete Wright. Meeting adjourned.